Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening everyone. So today is Tuesday the 28th of July 2020. So once again I'm here with you all tonight. Hi everyone, and thank you everyone for joining with me and listening this Facebook regular Dhamma talk. So we have been focusing on different subjects, and I've been focusing on this first discourse of the Buddha for a couple of weeks now, and yesterday I summarized the third noble truth, hoping to speak on the fourth noble truth, and we'll go discussing on that fourth noble truth. And before going into that, I just want to kind of a recap that the first discourse of the Buddha gave it to the 5 disciples, and then the first discourse became a kind of a foundation ground for the whole of Buddha's teachings. And it speaks mostly the main teachings of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths, which is there is a suffering, there is a cause of suffering, the suffering can be ended, and there is the path. And I've been talking about these Four Noble Truths, and yesterday I completed the third Noble Truth as just information. So today I will be focusing on the fourth noble truth, which is the path, or the so known as the Eightfold Noble Path, or the fourth noble truth. But in the first discourse, when we read, we find that this path is known as a Majjhima Patipada, which means the middle path, not having anything to do with the two extremes, but following this middle path. And this path that the Buddha had found or discovered to realize this Four Noble Truth. And that's how the entire Buddhism is based on this Four Noble Truth, or the Eightfold Noble Path. That's why, again, in Buddhism, it's not about what is and what's happening, but about the path, or the way to deal with the things and the situation that matters. And as a result of that, some people regard Buddhism as a way of life that brings happiness into our lives, one who practice in accordance with this Four Noble Truth. And similarly, we also need to remember that Buddha said, as long as there is a person who is diligently practicing in accordance with the Eightfold Noble Path, there will be a noble beings, or arahats. There will be attainment, possible of attainment of this liberation, which assures that whoever studies the Eightfold Noble Path and practices in accordance with it, one is able to be liberated without a doubt. And it is very simple to understand this path in a way to end the suffering. So suffering has got the desire as the cause, which gives suffering or the problems to us. Whereas this path is there to seize the problems or the craving. And it is basically, it's like a disease and a cure. A disease is a suffering and a cure is the path. So disease has got the cause for it, and which suggests that we can end the cause and we can end the suffering. And the path is simply a cure to the disease. Now let me tell you a story, and some of you, if you have been to the Goenka meditation centers, one of the nights Goenka will tell you a story of how a person once found a good doctor, and he praises a doctor rather than taking a medicine. The story goes like this. A man who is very ill and not well, so went to visit doctors, and then finally he was satisfied with the one doctor, and he was so happy to see this well-known doctor, and the well-known doctor prescribed him a medicine, and he took that prescription and put it on an altar and paying respect to this prescription and saying, this doctor is so good, and this prescription is so good, and it's gonna cure me and I will be free, like that. So if you're praying for the prescription, there is no way out. You won't be cured. All what you need is to take that pill. Take the prescriptions, go to the pharmacy, and then again he further tells the story that you go to the pharmacist and take the medicine, and then you put on an altar and paying respect to the medicine, saying, my doctor is so good and prescription is so great, and now I have got the medicine and now I am having it on the altar and paying respect. Having done so again, we will not be cured by the disease. So we have to follow all the instructions that the physician or the doctor has given to you. How many times you need to eat, and how many times and how many pills you have to take and in a day. And if you are following in accordance with the prescriptions and taking the medicine correctly, then in due course the disease will be cured. And here the Buddha, as the doctor who has prescribed all this Eightfold Noble Path, the path leading to the freedom, path leading to cure all the disease, the sufferings, and that's the craving. And it's up to us whether we are simply reciting these prescriptions like the man who went to the doctor and got this prescription and put it on an altar and paying respect to the prescription, or you have recited and you have understood and you have comprehended by studying and thinking in a philosophical way, and thinking that the Buddha is great, he is a wonderful philosopher, his knowledge is great, and I go for refuge, like that. And it is not what a Buddha expected to see or to hear. And if we are doing in this way, then obviously we will not be able to liberate ourselves. All what we need is to apply in our day-to-day life. So application of the teachings defines whether we are following the teachings of the Buddha or not. And if we are, then definitely we will be able to liberate ourselves. In the Dhammapada, there is a very beautiful beautiful gatha, or the stanza there. It says that doesn't matter how many knowledge you have acquired through reading, through listening, but if you haven't tasted it, it's like the spoon that steer the soup, which hasn't tasted the soup at all. Yeah? I think I have referred this so many times over this time of talking. So the Buddha's teachings is like that. We have to apply, and only then we will be able to understand it properly. And this is the path that the Buddha was talking. And in a way, in my understanding, this Eightfold Noble Path is basically what the Buddha found. The path that leads to find the solution. Yeah? It's like this, again, the whole Buddha's teachings is simply a signpost. Signpost is not the destination. It is just a signpost. We have to walk through it. It's like if you're coming to the center, you will see the signpost at the bottom of our center saying Varapunya Meditation Center. And that's not that sign is not the destination. You have to follow that sign to arrive at the center. But if you are not following that sign, then again you won't be able to arrive at the destination, right? So the Buddha's teachings, the entire Buddha's teachings, is simply a signpost telling us to follow the signs, and only then we will arrive at the destination. And the whole, this Eightfold Noble Path, the Fourth Noble Truth, is the signpost. And some would take that signpost and praise to that signpost, that how beautiful this is and how wonderful this is and how great this is, like that. If you are just praising the signpost, then you will not be able to get to the end. Buddha's instruction is simply follow what he has shown the path. That's why he said himself, Akhataro Tathagata. He is simply the pathfinder. And he has shown that path, and all what we need to do is to walk on that. It's not like any other religion or faiths that if you pay respect to that particular person or figure or idol or a so-called God, then they will heal you, they will liberate you, and they will take you to so-called the heavens or the unification, and so and so. But here, a Buddha is simply telling us that I have given you this map, this signpost. Once you have studied, all what you need to do is not stay with the signpost, but walk accordingly. And then you will be arriving at the destination. So that's why the whole Buddha's teachings is basically the signpost, and we need to walk on that. And when we look at this Eightfold Noble Path again, and this is looking at in a 8 forks. But when one is corrected, we see the entire 8 comes together. And that begins with the right understanding. It ends with the right concentration. And a mindfulness is one of these 8 factors. So that's why, although in the West we have been talking about this mindfulness a lot, explaining about the mindfulness a lot, and it's been investigated, studied, and researched, and scientifically proven, and so. Basically, that is just one part of the 8 factors of this Eightfold Noble Path. And in order to understand this all, again, first we have to have is this so-called samma ditthi, or the right understanding. And we do understand in our day-to-day life, and even you can check yourself that once you have got the right understanding or a right attitude, the whole story ends there. You will be speaking about that, what you have understood, very highly. Or even you will try to prove it to someone who disbelieves. So your thinking becomes very relevant. It's like you've been doing a research on some subject, and after a long time of a study, and you have understood that the main reason of that cause or that result is simply because of some disease, and that is reason, and you understood that, and with that understanding you will be able to write or to explain to anyone in a great detail, and you are confident in it too. So that's why the first thing is very important, to have this right understanding. And once we have got the right understanding, we will have right thought, right? The way we think will be right. And because of having a right understanding and a right thought, we speaking, the way we speak or the way we behave, the way we work, all becomes in a right path, right way. And the effort that we apply, mindfulness that we have on this job, become in a correct way too. And with this, doesn't matter what we are doing, our concentration will be so sharp onto that object or subject that we have understood. Yeah. So that's why these 8 factors will come at once you have fulfilled one. That's why when we are studying about Eightfold Noble Path, it's not that we divide it, but we are studying it jointly, all together at once. Although there are explanations of each one of these in a great details in different discourses that Buddha had given, and even the Sariputta had classified it into detail. But nevertheless, this is just the path that we have to follow to get the happiness. So the desire is the cause for the suffering, and the path is there, or this love, the Fourth Noble Truth, is there to end the suffering. And that is the path that we have to follow. And this is also known as a middle path. And simply because this path is avoiding the self-torture and self-indulgence. Self-torture causes the trouble, annihilation, and fatalism, and so and so. And the second one, which is a self-indulgence, again disconnects and then also gives us false satisfaction of this worldly life. And this middle path is basically avoiding these two paths, and as a result it is known as middle path, Majjhima Patipada. But when we look at in the other suttas, it says the Arya Atangika Magga. Arya here doesn't mean any race or any ethnic group, but it means the purity, and authenticity, neutrality, not to anyone else but the universal truth. So that's why it is known as Arya. And this Eightfold Noble Path, when we look at it into the training ground, then it's become a 3 categories, threefold factors. This one is Sila, Samadhi, Panya. So it's a training ground that we train ourselves to follow the path to be happy, become a morally and ethically sound, better, ability to control our mind, and having a right understanding, great wisdom. It's known as Sila, Samadhi, Panya, 3 Sikha. Sikha means the study, and 3 means the 3. So Tri Sikha, 3 training grounds. And that's how the very moment when we train under these 3 training grounds, then basically we are living in a happy life, which is the reason why so many other people or scholars explains this Eightfold Noble Path as the happiness, path to the happiness. Thich Nhat Hanh, the very famous Jain master, Vietnamese Jain master who lived in France for so many years, promoting meditation, and even he was awarded as the living mindful man, person in the world in this present moment. Now, who is in Vietnam, waiting for his last breath. He greatly explained this Eightfold Noble Path as the path to the happiness. And there is a very good book written by Gunaratna in America. He also wrote a book called Eight Ways to be Happy or something. And explaining these Eightfold Noble Path in detail and how to apply in our day-to-day life to be happy. So, when we look at it, what we have understood that it's not the happiness that we are looking for. The path itself is a happiness. So when we are walking onto this path, and gradually we are achieving or attaining the happiness itself. So that's why do not seek for the happiness at the end of the tunnel, but very moment when you start walking on the path, you have already started to experience the happiness. And that's the beauty of Buddha's teachings. The very moment when you start working, you have understood how beneficial the teachings of the Buddhas are. Because every moment when we reflect that Buddha's teachings, on the whole Buddha's teaching simply referring to avoid or cease any unbeneficial actions and cultivate or develop the beneficial activities that benefits oneself and then to others. More than that is the purification of our mind. And what else do we need once we have purified our mind? And that's how we attain the greatest happiness. We will be able to be happy at any time, anywhere, any moment, without any troubles. That's why Buddha said that one who is practicing in accordance with this Eightfold Noble Path will be happy. And that's the reason why modern scholars have been promoting or writing, saying that this Eightfold Noble Path is the way to the happiness. But in fact, I think the way itself is a happiness. You're attaining happiness in every step as you walk in. So that's why the Eightfold Noble Path is the foundation ground for the Buddha's teachings that we have to follow, we have to understand. And once we have developed this Eightfold Noble Path and have fully developed in it, what happens? The Buddha said that eye opens, wisdom arised, aloka, the light's been aroused. Eye open basically means able to see the world in its true nature, which is not deluded understanding, which the mind is not covered by the dusts. An ability to end the cycle of birth and death. Whereas in a worldling, what we are doing is we do not see the cycle of a birth and a death, the samsara, and our eyes are still closed to this truth, and we indulge in this worldly matters and in self-indulgence in it, and which has the cause, that longing towards this samsara longer and longer. Whereas the very moment when the eyes are open, wide, and understood the things as they truly are, then basically we have stopped traveling on this vast cycle of a birth and a death known as the samsara, which I think I refer the Buddha's the first word of conquering. Aneka jati samsaram sandavisang anivisang. So he had been traveling so long in the samsara, trying to find out the builder who built this life, and finally he had found it, and now he had destroyed all the tools, and now on no one can make my further journey like that. So that's how its eye has opened, the eye opening. Jnana udapadi, the wisdom has arisen. So basically the true experiential wisdom has arose, and understanding the things that has been arise due to the conditions. Once the conditions gone, it has to cease the way. Aloka udapadi means this great light has arose. That light has shown the path and shown the things the way things they are, truly are, an ability to be understood in its true nature. So this is the background for this Eightfold Noble Path, and the following days I will be talking on this Eightfold Noble Path in further little detail. So for tonight I end here, and thank you everyone for listening to this talk, and in a few minutes time we will have a chanting and guided meditation. So if you are following, then we'll see you, and if not, then we'll see you tomorrow for the talk. Until then, good night, and may the Buddha bless you. May you be happy, well, free from sufferings, free from all the troubles. May no harm come to you. And good night, and thank you.